All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome once again. And thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Vikas, and I'm working as the Senior Manager at Kellton Tech. And for today's webinar, we have Praveen Kumar Changani, who will be helping us explore the fundamentals of blockchain and how IBM blockchain works on IBM digital innovation platform Bluemix. Well, Praveen is working as the director for IBM Solutions at Kellton Tech with more than 15 years of experience in the IT industry and deep experience in BPM and BRMS, including various facets of BPM like business process modeling, design, integration, and workflow automation. Now, before I pass it to Praveen, just a little bit of housekeeping. If you have any questions, we have a question and answer session at the end of this webinar. We leave the floor for 5 minutes question and answer session. And meanwhile, if you want to drop any questions, you have the control panel on the right hand side. Just drop in your questions so that we can bring it at the end of it. And also let me tell you that this session is being recorded and the recording version of the session will be provided to you over the email. So once again, thank you for joining us. So without any ado, let me just pass this to Praveen. Praveen, we have beautiful audience right over there who are eager to learn about blockchain, and we can get started now.
That's great. Thank you so much for that kind introduction, Vikas, and for setting the stage so beautifully. Hello, everyone. My name is Praveen Changani. I'm one of the leads at the IBM practice here at Kellton Tech, and I'm thrilled and excited to have you join us today to talk about such an exciting topic. And so let's get right to it. As Vikas said, if you have any questions, please save them for towards the end of the presentation. We'll try and accommodate. But what I'd like to do is let me first set the stage. And then I want to see if I can also squeeze in a small demo for you towards the end. So a lot to cover. So let's go ahead and get started. So to give you a sneak peek, this is sort of the agenda, and we're going to go ahead and cover who we are as Kellton Tech as an organization and what we do. Spend just a couple of minutes on that. I also want to set the stage with the overarching and umbrella phenomenon of digital transformation, what it is, why it's relevant today, and then as a prelude to then blockchain technology, the fundamentals, and a blockchain demo if we have the time, hopefully, on IBM's digital innovation platform called Bluemix. So welcome everybody again, and let's go ahead and get started. Kellton Tech was founded in 1993. We are a premier software development and professional services organization that offers end-to-end IT solutions, strategic technology consulting, product development, and advisory areas in the areas of social, mobile, analytics, cloud, ERP, BPM, IoT, API, and digital transformation. So, Vikas, if I may, I'm hearing some interference. I don't know if you could just put your phone on mute, please. Thank you. That helps. We are headquartered and based out of Princeton, New Jersey, but also have offices in Chicago, Illinois, Cupertino, California, McLean, Virginia, and we have a global footprint and innovation and delivery hubs in Europe, Ireland, but also in delivery centers in Hyderabad, India. Kellton Tech is a premier level IBM business partner, a gold certified Microsoft partner, a gold certified SAP partner, as well as a premier level software AG and web methods partner, and most recently a MuleSoft partner. So we're a multifaceted company in terms of the technology practices that we subscribe to, and as a result of that, our take on solving business problems is often technology agnostic. So we're more focused on solving business problems, and to us, technology is just an enabler. So I know that's music to some of the people that are listening. Kellton Tech is a publicly listed company. We're listed on India's largest stock exchange, BSE, and we are an ISO 9001 and CMMI Level 3 certified company. We are also recognized as, quote, an emerging IT company of the year and recently awarded by Deloitte the India Fast 50, which is a prestigious award for being best in class technology and solution providers. In terms of some fun factoids, the way Kellton was formed was really by the friendship of two gentlemen who went to Ivy League schools, and they were really interested in solving some big business problems. So one of the gentlemen went to Kellogg, and the other gentleman went to the business school, Ivy League's business school, Wharton. So they took sort of KELL from Kellogg's and TON from Wharton and turned that into Kellton Tech. So it's a very interesting story, and you know, Kellton Tech has very humble beginnings and roots, but we are, through hard work and perseverance, we have reached a very, you know, a number of different you know, platforms over the years, over the last 2.5 decades, and are trusted advisors to many Fortune 500 companies as well. So in terms of team size, we're 1,500 employees globally, and rapidly growing every couple weeks. Quickly, these are some of our customers by industry. As you can see, a lot of these customers are household brand names like Discount Tire in retail, or US Foods in manufacturing, or American Electric Power in energy and utilities, or JP Morgan Chase, Fidelity, PNC Bank under financials, and Marriott and Estes or Univision under the other section. So we work very hard to keep our customers happy. For technology expertise and adoption, as I mentioned, we're a premier level IBM business partner. We're also partners with Software AG, Web Methods, MuleSoft, and CA Technologies, Informatica, and the likes of Red Hat and WSO2. This is our core services portfolio. The DCE stands for Digital Connected Enterprise, and that, which is the division that I originate from, and we have multiple divisions at Kellton Tech, but it's one team essentially. And the Digital Connected Enterprise team is focused on connecting your systems of engagement with your back-end systems of records, such as your ERPs and your SAP systems, things like that. And this is our core portfolio. I just wanted to put that up there. I'm not going to go into the details of every one of them, but in addition to digital transformation and blockchain assessment and technology enablement, these are some of the more traditional services we provide to our customers. Okay, so having gotten some of those formalities out of the way, let's get right into it. Something we've been hearing all over the place lately is this talk about digital transformation. So you can't help but ask yourself, what exactly is it, and haven't we already been transforming all these years, or is this just, you know, hype? So let's unpack that a little bit, okay? First and foremost, what we're seeing is, in terms of the customer and their expectations, is that they want more, they want it faster, and they want it in a more seamless and connected user experience. We are seeing that the growth opportunities in the new markets and the disruptions occurring every day are causing a rise in competitive pressures, which in turn are driving a greater focus on innovation and the need to reduce cost and complexity. So therein lies the need, of course, to amplify innovation, you know, increase operational efficiencies, and reduce TCO, total cost of ownership. So we're really at an inflection point right now in terms of how business will be done and how business and technology teams will work together. But one thing's clear, and that is, as a result of these changes we're experiencing every day, especially with this incredible explosion of information, this next generation of the information age, which is happening at an accelerated pace, this concept, if you will, of an anywhere, anytime computing phenomena is resulting in an enormous load from multiple clients computers, cell phones, iPads, connected TVs, connected cars. The list goes on. And there's a lot of load that's being generated on the technology infrastructure. So what we are seeing is that the things that should be connected but aren't today are creating bottlenecks and pain points for businesses and organizations. This means that as the demands of the consumer continue to rise, the more disconnected things are, the more difficult it'll be to deliver that seamless, connected experience that the customer is looking for. So businesses, CIOs, senior practitioners, and industry leaders, be it in the public or private sector, are taking into consideration all of these facts and looking at what they need to do to be able to pull out all the stops and go back to look at their business models and also their infrastructure to enable this anywhere, anytime demand, so that composite applications and services that are interacting with each other can produce more meaningful data and a better overall customer experience. So I think there is this realization that dawns, if you will, on the C-suite of executives that it is critical to have this theme of digital transformation and architectural capabilities for the customer. So the option is digital transformation, more innovation, more operational efficiencies, more interoperability, which helps with the forward-looking agenda in the industry, or the opposite of that, which is a non-starter. Hence, everything we are doing as catalysts to drive towards this next generation of information age should be focused on improving productivity, innovation, and reducing cost. So, in summary, digital transformation is all about looking at your business models in fundamentally new ways and operating at higher levels of innovation to essentially provide better business value to customers. So whether you are an organization that was born digital or born analog, as those phrases are commonly used, it is essential to have a digital transformation strategy to stay competitive in this new era of business and use everything at your disposal, data, insights, analytics, and pair all of that with a multi-speed, if you will, architecture and culture, along with the latest technologies such as blockchain, enabling businesses to do more and provide a better experience to customers as well as partners. So the slide on my screen essentially highlights, why this is important. And 90% of the data was created in the last 2 years. We know that over 1 billion plus smart devices were shipped in 2013 alone. That was 4 years ago. There's about 81% of customers today who depend on social media and sites such as Facebook, Twitter, etc., to make purchasing decisions. And 62% of total workloads will be in the cloud by 2017. But also the fact that 50 billion devices will be connected to the internet by 2020. And finally, in 2013, there were 85 billion in global commerce sales, with a rising forecast to an estimated $1 trillion by 2017 and in 2018. So it's important to keep all of these changing factors in mind and develop the right vision for your digital transformation and architectural freedom strategy. So let's move on. I just wanted to set the stage with that digital transformation overview, and now I really just want to get into blockchain, which is I'm assuming also the reason most of us are joining this webinar and would like to learn some things. So we know that business networks, businesses never operate in isolation. They have participants in a business network. Business networks will connect customers, suppliers, banks, and regulators across those geographical boundaries. And wealth is traditionally generated as goods and services that moves across this network. And this flow, if you will, is referred to as the market. So growth of that wealth can be constrained if the network is heavily siloed or inefficient. Hence the need for a business network that can be built in an efficient way that allows a process to go from step A to step Z in the best possible manner, without risk for intrusion and security issues, things of that nature. Let's talk a little bit about assets and what are some things that you can traditionally pass around. So ownership of assets pass across the network in return for payments, and these are typically governed by contracts. So assets can be tangible and intangible. So tangibles could include things like your cars, your houses, your boats, and intangible assets could be, for example, things like financial instruments. But don't forget also intellectual assets like patents, growing digital assets that include music and games, video, art, etc., etc. So in your traditional state of affairs, the ledger is the system of record for business, and ledgers are not new. You know, they've been used for double entry bookkeeping since the 13th century, but ledgers are the system of record for a business. And commercial usage of the term for principal book of accountant is a business house. So the system of record for recording asset transfers in and out of business is in fact the ledger. So you have things like a ledger, a transaction, and a contract. The ledger is the system of record, the transaction is the transfer of the asset, and the contract is the conditions under which the transaction can occur. For example, if Anthony pays John money, then the car passes from John to Anthony. That's a very simple. A more complex contract could be, if the car won't start, funds do not pass to John as decided by the third-party arbitrator, which is a more complex contract business rule. So now let's highlight the introduction of blockchain. So we've been hearing about blockchain a lot, and let's kind of unpack what this really is, and break it down into smaller, more manageable pieces. So blockchain is essentially a shared ledger technology, which allows any participant in the business network to see the system of record, in this case, the ledger. So what's new here, the ledger itself is not new, but what's new here is the concept of a shared ledger. And up to this point, each participant had their own ledger, but now the sharing is the foundation. With blockchain, the sharing is the foundation for innovative business solutions. This introduces an interesting set of technical challenges, including 1, participant identity and privacy, and 2, transaction privacy. So let's go ahead and look at that a little bit more in greater detail. This slide talks about the current state, and I would say that I look at this and I say pre-blockchain. This is pre the era of blockchain, which represents the status quo for business networks. So as you can tell, each participant keeps their own ledger, and which are updated to represent business transactions as they occur. So we have participant B, who keeps their own ledger. C does the same, A has their own, participant D, then you have auditor records, which they have their own, and there's all this complex API integration that's taking place behind the scenes, and if there's a problem with, a security incident or anything of that nature, if there's an issue, it sort of disrupts in a bad way the flow of events and record keeping. So not only is this expensive due to duplication of effort and intermediaries adding margin for services, it's clearly inefficient. As the business conditions, the contract is duplicated by every network participant. So it's also vulnerable if a central system, like, for example, a bank, is compromised due to incidents. This affects the whole business network. So let me give you an example of an incident that may be not so good and can affect the whole business network. Incidents could include things like fraud, cyber attacks, or human error, a simple mistake. All of those things are prone to creating issues in the business network. So now the problem is it's difficult to monitor asset ownerships and transfers in a trusted business network. So that is kind of the big problem statement with the status quo. And now if we move on to the next slide, I will show you sort of what I consider the future state. And this would leverage the blockchain technology. So in here, the solution to all the pain points I addressed in the previous slide is that you have a shared, replicated, and permissioned ledger. So in this case, this novel blockchain architecture gives participants the ability to share a ledger, which is updated every time a transaction occurs through peer-to-peer replication, but also cryptography is used to ensure that the network participants see only the parts of the ledger that are relevant to them, and the transactions are secure, authenticated, and verifiable. Blockchain allows the contract for asset transfer to be embedded in the transaction database, determining the conditions under which the transaction can actually occur. And network participants agree how transactions are verified through means of consensus or similar mechanisms. But government oversight, compliance, and auditing can be part of that same network. That's one of the beauties of building this network. So you notice between this slide and the previous slide, the participants are actually the same. So this is not really a disintermediation play. It's more to solve a state of affairs where you build trust, consensus, provenance, immutability, and finality. And I'll talk about each of those in the next few slides. But, at a high level, consensus is, it means all participants agree that a transaction is valid, which is extremely important. Provenance is this idea that, participants know where the asset came from and how its ownership had changed over time. So there's some sort of historical context. Immutability is to say that no participant can tamper with a transaction once it's agreed upon. And if a transaction was an error, then a new transaction must be used to reverse the error with both being visible. And finally, finality means that there is one place to determine the ownership of an asset or completion of a transaction. And that is the role of the shared ledger. So in a nutshell, as you can see, blockchain is a shared distributed ledger that facilitates the process of recording transactions and tracking either intangible or tangible assets in a business network. And the benefits of that include, of course, reducing risk, reducing cost, reducing services fees, and increasing trust. So I wanted to highlight, as I began to sort of think about, how I'm going to break this topic down. I decided that there's a lot that goes into this technology, but at the heart of it, there are really four main blocks. So the blockchain technology comprises these four blocks that can lead to increased efficiencies and cost reduction. And it does this across the business network. So we will unpack consensus, privacy, and smart contract in the next couple of slides. But now that we've sort of looked at, what the shared ledger is, smart contracts really takes that a step further and really enables the business rules implied by the contract to be embedded within the blockchain and executed with the transaction. So, So not every member of the business network can actually see all of the blockchain. So the cryptography actually controls who can see what and implies the user registration to build trust, a network access permission, certification management, authentication, things like that. All of that is implied within the Hyperledger fabric, which is what IBM's blockchain is based upon. So the shared ledger, we know, records all transactions across the business network. It's shared between the participants. Participants have their own copy through replication. It is, in fact, a permissioned network, so participants only see appropriate transactions that they have access to. And it is, in fact, the shared system of record. Smart contracts. These are the business rules that form the transaction, encoded in programming languages, and are verified, signed, and encrypted. Now, an example of a guaranteed future execution is, let's say that you want to define the contractual conditions under which a corporate bond is transferred. Or maybe even another example, maybe in wealth management, if you wanted to transfer, let's say I wanted to transfer $1,000 to somebody else, I can define the rules, and the rules can be defined that this is the person I would like to transfer the money to. So the amount of the money has to be defined, the currency, the date, the time, all of those details can be defined, so in that sense, a smart contract is really a set of business rules for that particular transaction. Privacy. The ledger is in fact shared, but participants do require privacy, and they will need and certain participants will need their transactions to be private. The identity is not linked to a particular transaction, and all transactions will need to be authenticated. And that's why cryptography is essential and central to all of these, to building that effective business network as part of the blockchain fabric. Consensus. I know I brought this up a little bit earlier. This is the process by which transactions are verified when, unlike other blockchains, with the Hyperledger fabric, when participants are known and trusted, the commitment happens at a lower cost. But Bitcoin and cryptographic mining, types of efforts verify anonymous participants. The only thing is that it comes at a cost, and that is the proof of work, etc. Let's talk a little bit. I know we're getting closer to the end here, so I want to move a little quicker if I may. These are some of the benefits of blockchain. Saves time. Transaction times can go from day to near instantaneous. You can remove the overheads and the cost of intermediaries. You reduce tampering, fraud, and cybercrime. Other benefits also include improving discoverability, which is, when everyone on an exchange can view the same ledger, it's easy to broadcast an intention or offer by appending it. For example, in a trading network, all asks and bids would be visible to every network participant. But then there are other benefits like ensuring there's trusted record keeping. By design, no one party can modify, delete, or even append any record to the ledger without having consensus from others on the network, making the system useful and ensuring immutability of contracts. These are some patterns for customer adoption with blockchain. Typically, you start with a compliance ledger. You want to sort of mimic a real-time view of compliance, audit, and risk. And the second level up is consortium shared ledger. You create a small set of participants, share some key reference data, and try and consolidate a consistent real-time view. One level more mature than that is an asset exchange, sharing of assets, voting, dividend notification. So assets are information, but not financial at this stage. And then you have the most mature, which is high-value market, transfer of high-value financial assets between many participants in the market, and also integrated with regulatory timeframes and roles. So what blockchain is not for? Blockchain is not suited to high performance, like millisecond type transactions for just one participant. a replicated database type scenario. That's not what it's for. It's not a messaging solution, and it's not a transaction processing replacement, and certainly not suited for low value, high volume transactions. I want to spend just about a minute on this slide. I'm sharing this slide because this is sort of our view of how we are going to engage with customers who are coming to us right now and prospects and saying, look, we understand you have a capability around blockchain on the IBM cloud. So this is kind of how we tackle the engagement with our prospects. We'll first have a discussion, we'll talk, and that could be remote or face-to-face. We'll talk about the technology, the business model, and show you an application or a blockchain demo. We then move on to a technology hands-on. We move on next to subsequently to a first project type scenario, design thinking workshops, and finally, go through business process reengineering, systems integration, and scale that for the enterprise. This is our homegrown 5-step methodology. I don't want to get into the details in the interest of time, but essentially we have a sequence of steps we follow in order to get you from point A to point B. And then now, with the few minutes I have remaining, what I'd like to do is get right into the demo. And so just bear with me. I'm going to go ahead and launch the Bluemix platform, which is IBM's digital innovation platform. And I already have a blockchain instance instantiated. Again, IBM's version of blockchain is based on the Hyperledger fabric from the Linux Foundation. So let's go ahead and begin with the Ibm Blockchain Monitor. As you can see in this demo, this is an area where you can actually see the membership services and the number of peers. I have a 4-peer system, and IBM offers multiple plans on Bluemix, but the blockchain on Bluemix as a service consists of network plans that include a high security version, two high security versions, one which is under beta, but also under general availability. Those use the Hyperledger Fabric version 1.0. And then the starter developer plan, which is in beta form right now, and that uses version 0.6. And that's the version I'm going to be displaying to you today. It's more of a starter or developer platform. So this is sort of the blockchain interface. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and demo example 2. I'll try and move quickly, and I appreciate if you can stay for a few more minutes. I know your time is valuable and you have other options. I do appreciate your time. But it's going to go ahead and do a deployment, and if you click on the Show API Details, it shows you the API details and the details around the post message, what variables are being submitted, the message payload, if you will. So, but that's the context, and each peer in the network has, while that's deploying, each peer in the network has an address, and you can select that and copy that into your applications, mind you. So I'm going to go ahead and execute. I have a very simple blockchain demo here. 2 integers, which are A and B, and I'm going to move some money from A to B and from B to A. But let's first find out what's actually in A. So I'm going to hide the detail version so I could just see. So I ran a query, and that says A has $100 in it. And then now let's go ahead and query B, and that has $200 in it. So what I'd like to do now is I have 2 operations here. I'm going to go ahead and move from B to A $5. Okay, so transfer from B to A. I'm going to go ahead and execute that transaction. And now that I've moved it, I've moved $5, which was the underlying contract rule. I'd like to go back and now take a look at what is actually under A. So A was 100 before. It should be 105 when I click on execute now. So let's see if that ends up working out. And as you can see, we got a success message, 105. So that was a high 30,000 feet level overview for you in terms of how we can run blockchain and how businesses don't have to reinvent the wheel, because IBM has already taken a lot of their code and contributed to what's known as the Hyperledger Fabric, in addition to many other companies like Intel, and other company and organizations. So, but this should give you an idea, like in terms of what APIs are being used. You can go back and monitor your blockchain and take a look at what transactions have occurred, the timings. You could take a look at the fact that an invoke operation was performed, and you can look at logs for each of the peers. So that's kind of that in a nutshell. I know we're a little bit over time, but I still want to see if people have questions. I realize we sort of flew by this, but Vikas, over to you if there are any questions for me.
Well, thank you, Praveen. It was really interesting for us to learn more about blockchain from IBM. Yes, we definitely have a couple of questions coming in. And we have one question coming in from Vijaya, who is asking for a traditional IT shop to embrace blockchain. Do they first need to shift to bimodal IT culture? Is what he is looking for.
Thank you, Vikas. I understand the concept of bimodal IT was propagated by Gartner, and the idea is that in IT you have these two parallel delivery approaches. One is rapid development for digital innovation, and then you have this concept of a slower lane for more standard legacy delivery. And although I understand and appreciate the value of getting IT to think about doing things differently, such as DevOps, Agile, Scrum, and peer programming and continuous integration, I think, I would much rather IT teams think in terms of multi-speed IT. So it really depends. But bimodal IT has the implication that by simply changing an organization's delivery model, it's going to solve some more fundamental problems, and that's really not the case. IT teams must look at their end-to-end operating model and processes to truly accelerate quality delivery. Because otherwise, what ends up happening is you just have sort of the mode one, if you will, the quote-unquote slower, more secure version, end up becoming the bottleneck. So that's really, I think that's one issue I personally have with it. And then, it's the best way to really get agile, an IT organization agile, is to transform the end-to-end IT process and culture. So I don't think that you need, to answer your question, bimodal IT. But certainly that is the trend in the industry now, that you want to move to more of a multi-speed architecture, and that will help propel you for more of a traditional. Not to say that those aren't. That's not an important way of doing things. It certainly is. A lot of the mission-critical applications are built on that traditional IT culture and base, but it might help accentuate your adoption of the technology. So, any other questions?
Okay, thank you, Praveen. Well, before I take the last question, I really need to appreciate the audience for taking the extra time to spend with us. So we have one last question right now, Praveen. That's from Justin. Is asking for, is the Hyperledger like the foundation of IBM's blockchain?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that question?
Okay. Is Hyperledger like the foundation of IBM's blockchain? Is the question what's coming in from the audience.
Okay, I see. I think that's an accurate way of looking at it. I mean, Hyperledger is a collection of open source developers and companies that have come together to build a toolkit, of open source blockchain and smart contracts related type technology. So Hyperledger began at the end of 2015 when a number of companies like IBM basically approached the Linux Foundation and put some ideas together to build a framework and a good foundation for blockchain. So yes, but it's there are a number of ways to do it. You can do it in a single vendor control type application, or you could do it as a multiple vendors, open governance type framework, which is the right way to blockchain, and that's what IBM has done in collaboration with the Linux Foundation.
Okay, well, thank you, Praveen. Well, we have a couple more questions coming in, but respecting audience time, we have to cut it short right here. But as I mentioned earlier, we will send out the recording version of the session along with the presentation and also the answers for the rest of the questions, wherein Praveen will be able to consolidate all into one, and we'll be sending out right here. So, audience, thank you very much for taking time out of your calendars and spending some time with Kellton Tech. And please stay tuned. We have a few more webinars coming in next couple of weeks. And at any point in time you have any questions, we are right over there, and we'll be happy to help you out there. So thank you very much. Thank you, Praveen. Have a good day, and stay tuned.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.